Hi, I'm Leif from Leif Labs, and today we are going to construct the 5 Platonic solids. The tetrahedron, which is a 4 faces polyhedron, the cube, which has 6 faces, the octahedron, which has 8, the icosahedron, which has 20, and the dodecahedron, which has 12. As with all of the other constructions, this is based on our shape set from the other video, which is earlier in this playlist and linked to in the description. And these are all the shapes, these are all of the solids which can be constructed from just a regular shape, either basically the equilateral triangle, the square, and the pentagon. Having consumed my box of cereal, I will take my empty box of cereal and I'm going to cut it up. So at this point, I have a couple of big sheets of cardboard, which are from the 2 largest surface areas, and then I've got this smaller one. And what I'm going to do is put those shapes into here and then cut them out. Here are the 3 shapes, which I will now proceed to cut out using the scissors. So here they are, our 3 shapes: the square, the equilateral triangle, and the pentagon. With these 3 shapes, we can make the 5 Platonic solids. So I'm going to start first with the tetrahedron. The tetrahedron has 4 faces. And I'm going to put this as close as possible to the edge here so that can save some space. And that is how you get a tetrahedron. Now I'm going to go to the cube. The cube might be a little bit more familiar, and it's going to be like this. I'm going to start here. I'm going to make a sort of cross. Cube. And now for the octahedron, which is an 8-sided solid. There are a number of ways to make an octahedron, but I usually do it the same way. So now we see all of the patterns for all 5 of the Platonic solids. Here's the tetrahedron, made with the triangle, the cube, made with the square, the octahedron, made with the triangle again, the icosahedron, again made with the triangle, and this is 10, 5, and 5, so it's a 20-sided figure. And then finally, the dodecahedron, which is a 12-sided figure made up of 12 pentagons. Now I'm going to cut these out with the scissors so I get them to be the pattern that I want them to be. So now I've cut all of these out, and I have the cube cut out, the tetrahedron, the dodecahedron, the octahedron, and the icosahedron. Now, the next thing I need to do is to score all of these. Every time there's a line here, I need to draw kind of score into it in order to make them fold easily. So I'm going to go get a fork. So I'm going to use a fork and a ruler to go and score each one of these. So now that I've scored all of these, I can fold them by creasing them like this. And I do that on all of them. And I'm going to fold them, even though I scored them on the side that has the cardboard instead of the logos. I'm going to bend it away from where I scored it. So you can see this starting to emerge into a ball-like form. Now I have all of these. I've got the icosahedron, the octahedron, all of these. They're all folded up and kind of ready to assemble, but now what they need is some tape to make them actually solids. And now here we have the 5 Platonic solids. Tetrahedron, cube, octahedron, icosahedron, and dodecahedron. And just to go back to how this all happened, I started with the square, equilateral triangle, and golden triangle that are part of our basic shape set. I went from that in the previous video to the smaller triangle, the smaller square, and the pentagon. So then I have these 3 shapes. Then I use these to trace out the patterns, and then having traced out the patterns, I can fold those up into these shapes. And those are the 5 Platonic solids. People who play tabletop dice games are probably familiar with all of these. They're popular in various role-playing games, the D20 and the D12, the D8, the D4, D6, blah, blah, blah. And so there you have them, the Platonic solids. You will see these everywhere. They exist in nature, in crystal structure, they exist in biological systems, and they're in a lot of artists and philosophers over the centuries who've been obsessed with these. They obviously go back to Plato, hence the name Platonic solid. Leonardo da Vinci was also obsessed with these. I have become obsessed with them. But a lot of artists, alchemists in the Middle Ages were obsessed with them. They associated them with the elements of the universe and something like that. And as a sort of historical note, the icosahedron is also what was used for the Dymaxion globe, which was a globe of the Earth that was invented by Buckminster Fuller. And I was fortunate enough when I was very, very young to encounter Buckminster Fuller when he was very, very old. And I think we were both sort of equally bored with the adults in the room. I was 8. And he introduced me to this because I think he was bored and he carried these with him everywhere. And so I got one of these and we folded it up. And so if you fold up an icosahedron out of cardboard with me, you are one cardboard icosahedron from Buckminster Fuller. So for those of you who know what that means and are into triangles, that's something a little bit cool. So my Platonic solids are somewhat crude. I encourage you to make much better ones than the ones I've made here. Make videos and images of them and then upload them and share them in the comments. And I'll take the best of them and put them into the video description and link to them and so on. And we will make better and better solids over time. Thank you for listening.